So to kind of circle it back around to DC, um, Toku, you also had something to contribute
Yes.
to the discussion, more so on the mythological side.
All
And
right,
we actually
allow me to
already
speak.
had like a pretty healthy discussion about Wonder Woman and such,
Mhm.
who she's pretty much our resident demigod in DC universe. So you have the floor, my friend. What's going
All right.
on the
What I've no,
supernatural side?
recently in Wonder Woman, an old friend that we haven't seen since Jack Kirby's Fourth World #5 showed back up. Our old friend DC Thor. It's good to see him back, but it has led me to noticing something. DC and the current Norse mythologies comic in I forgot the comic company's name, are two of the only comic book companies that regularly portray Thor as he's described in the mythology, red-haired with a beard. A lot of other comics, especially Marvel, portray him as a clean-shaven blonde. And at first I was wondering why that is, but then I realized something. In modern day culture, we have a tendency to portray all Vikings as blondes, despite the fact that Viking culture would more likely be redhead because that was the phenotype that was more commonly associated with Scandinavia. The idea of them being blonde mostly comes from our old enemies, the Nazis.
um, yeah, I don't disagree with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, the Nazis describe the perfect Aryan um, being as being blonde and blue-eyed, and they also co-opted a lot of Norse mythology because Norse mythology became Germanic mythology as the years passed, and then the Nazis just went, "Yeah, we're just going to take all this and ruin it," just like they ruined everything else because they're trash people. Anyway, so whenever you see a blonde-haired Thor, just remember that is not what that guy looks like. Also, interesting fact, another fact about the mythology, Loki didn't have green eyes in the myths. He has kaleidoscope eyes. So his eyes constantly shift colors.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that would have been a pretty interesting aesthetic.
Right? Marvel, you really missed the mark on this one. Like, could you imagine how cool that would look on screen?
That would. It'd probably be distracting as hell, though.
Yeah, it would.
It would look cool, though, but it's kind of crazy that you say that, because with the correlation to the Nazi thing or whatever, it kind of sheds light a little bit on Red Skull finding the Tesseract in First Avenger.
Yeah, it does.
Like, it kind of sheds some light on that in a way. It's like, wow, that's
maybe they did that on purpose. Maybe that was an accident. I don't know.
Hey,
I personally believe. But
that's
yeah,
that's one of those things where I feel like hindsight is 2020.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of modern day worshippers of the Norse gods, which there's actually a couple of pagan communities that still believe in the Norse gods. They hate the Nazis for ruining Norse mythology, and they hate neo-Nazis because neo-Nazis continue the Nazis' tradition of ruining Norse mythology. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying comics should be more accurate. Look, I have no problem with comics changing the myths for their storylines. I'm just saying, if you show the Marvel version of Thor to a 12th century Scandinavian, he'd be like, "This is not my god. I'm going to stab you with my axe now for disrespecting my god."
Well, I mean, I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah. And the only thing you'd say is, "You know what? That's fair. Go ahead."
It's like, look, this is just how it was introduced to me. I had nothing to do with that.
Right.
As far as I know, that he's like a 6'8" like Scandinavian blonde dude with braided beard. So like that's that's all I know as far as that goes.
I'm the messenger. I'm the messenger. I didn't write this. I didn't draw this. You can't get mad at me.
Absolutely. But I kind of
we're gonna
always
be mad at you.
You said what?
We're gonna be mad at him just because he said it.
Right. Just because he
You set
said
yourself
something,
up
right?
with that one, player.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things I actually always thought, and I didn't really, I haven't seen too many instances where the DC will interact with the basically interacting with the counterpart of the mythology. So, because I mean, obviously with DC, they're more focused on the Greek, whereas Marvel's more focused on the Norse. But it's always kind of interesting because, like, from the times where I've seen them use other gods or whatever, like in DC, they always seem kind of nerfed in comparison because they always seem to get their ass whooped in DC.
It's usually because whatever's fighting them is like this ultra powerful universal multiversal thing that eats gods, or it's Darkseid,
or Superman, because I think Superman put a Greek god on his ass one in New 52, if I recall.
Yeah, that's stupid. It was Apollo. Apollo's god of the sun, and apparently Apollo's attacks just make Superman stronger.
Of course.
But the one thing we can admire about DC, at least when they do depict other religions' gods, they do their best to make it as close to the mythology as possible. Their depictions of look at their depiction of Ramakrishna, or their depiction of Thor, as we said before,
right?
Or look at Yara Floor in DC and their depiction of both ancient. Man, I cannot pronounce this tribe, so I'm just going to say ancient Brazilian gods. And look, the only thing I can get mad at DC for is they depict Hades like a lot of people depict Hades as this evil, brooding douchebag who wants to control everything, and that's just not Hades. Hades didn't care in Greek mythology. He wasn't trying to harass humans. He just was like, look, I don't care. You all come here eventually anyway. I'm just going to sit here and wait. Yeah. Y'all be good. Y'all just stay out of my underworld while y'all alive. Y'all stay away from. Y'all stop. Y'all don't try to kidnap my wife, and y'all leave my kids alone, and we'll all be peachy keen best friends.
Right. I will say this, like, one thing that I that stands out as far as how they introduce the gods in most cases is I was actually kind of surprised, like, when they introduced Zeus in the Marvel universe, he was redheaded. Like, he had like completely red, like just all red hair, and it was just like, wow, that's different from Zeus. Because I mean, if you guys like are familiar with reading some of like the more godhood stuff, like in Marvel, whatever, like the only one I kind of come back to is what is it? I think it was in Incredible Hulks, if I recall. This was like after World War Hulk, I believe, and like Hulk got completely thrashed by Zeus. And it was just like, I was like, that's an interesting look for Zeus, because any other time he's always either kind of has like either light brown hair or he just has white hair because lightning, you know. So
right, and which doesn't really work because Zeus is the youngest of the big three. He's the youngest brother of the three brothers, and the youngest. So, and the while he's the father of a bunch of other Olympians, he's the youngest of all of Cronus' children. So you'd think he'd look the youngest.
I didn't like. Damn.
Yeah,
I just realized that today. I never knew Zeus was the youngest of the three.
Yeah, Hades, remember Kronos ate like a bunch of his kids. Remember?
Yeah, he did. And they were just stuck in his stomach for like 18 years while Zeus grew up and got ready to fight him. Which leads me to another thing. For trigger warning, this will involve talking about
things,
snipping, if you catch my drift. But both Uranus and Kronos got the same attack, a scythe to the sensitive spots. But I'm going to
Mm.
argue that Uranus is more durable because after he got a slight defensive spots, he had enough energy left in the tank to stand up, go on this epic rant against the Titans, name them the Titans, which in ancient Greece means to overstretch oneself because they were reaching up a station.
Uh-huh.
Lay a curse on Kronos' head, and then he either died or faded away or disappeared or whatever happened to him. Greek mythology is not very clear on what happens to the gods after they lose the wars.
Right.
When Kronos got that same attack, he just went down. He didn't even say anything. He just went.
He's yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
He didn't even get a final speech like his dad did. He just went. Oh, bye. Also, for the record, and I'm saying this to all the writers out there, please stop mixing up Cronus with Kronos. They're two different gods.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of the people that used to
I'm
get
definitely
those
I'm definitely
confused.
guilty.
Look, okay. See, Cronus is the god of the harvest, hence the scythe.
Mhm.
Kronos is the god of time. While their
Yes.
names are similar in both English and Greek, they're two different people.
Right.
They have the same. In fact, Kronos is a primordial god who existed before Gaia herself, whereas
Right.
Cronus is the son of Uranus and Gaia.
Right. It makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just always interesting, like talking
Yeah.
about that stuff, because I mean, it's like mythology. Any mythology is.
I am
always. You said what?
Oh, can we just all agree on one last thing before we move on?
Yeah.
Let's just thank God that DC and Marvel haven't touched Aztec mythology. No one's ready for that. Like the moment they introduce those, we know it's going to be another crisis event. Just because the nature of Aztec mythology is everything wants to kill everything.
You know what? The thing is that like I have to kind of revisit God Wars miniseries in Marvel just to kind of see everybody they included, because it's been a while. But that's going to be for like another time. So anyway, yeah. So to move on to basically the tail end of the podcast and our final DC talk of the night. As of this podcast, we are essentially 1 week away. We are 1 week away from the ever talked about the
Ever speculated on.
The ever speculated on. Thank you. Yeah, the Zack Snyder's Justice League, his vision, his full vision will grace us all in a week, probably earlier for those that probably got an earlier screener, that probably the embargo won't be lifted until Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a week away, and there's a lot of things that have transpired just in the last 24 hours as of this podcast, and we are going to address those things now.
Okay.
We've talked at length on past shows about the Snyder Cut, what we expect, why all of us are understandably nervous about this whole thing. Just ever since it got announced last year, and here we are now, literally 7 days away from it, and we're just at this point where now the closer this movie gets to dropping, the more stuff that comes out, and it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, people, I think we need to kind of slow down here.
Oh yeah.
And just take one thing at a time, because you guys are like, look, for the Super Snyder fans, excuse me, for the Super Snyder fans, all right, look, you guys got a W when AT&T and Warner Media decided to green light the Snyder Cut as Snyder wanted to put it out. Granted, this was something that apparently was just raw footage that was just unfinished on his laptop, but because of this, like, he was able to get money to kind of finish it, and therefore now we have it. Now we have, just like released the Snyder Cut, now we have a new hashtag making its rounds now, which is Restore the Snyderverse.
No.
No.
And like I said, the movie is only a week out now, and now we have people really making claims that now supposedly be just on the strength that and this has been talked about, that the Snyder Cut essentially more than likely is going to be left on the cliffhanger, which comes as to no surprise because obviously he had plans for other movies. Now, a week prior to this podcast, there was a bit of a leak of some storyboards for an early draft of Justice League, and of course, you know, you had a lot of people trying to disprove it, this, that, and the third. I'm not going to say personally that I know for sure, but how it basically, as how the situation was handled, because the original copyright owners, which is Warner, they had the images removed because they felt that some things spoken in there would potentially spoil the cut, which kind of increases my theory that there has to be some truth to these storyboards being among the original pitches. So, needless to say, just like everything that has been DC related with Snyder, it's got people talking and it's got people split down the middle. And the thing is like, we're at this point where it's like, listen, we really have to be careful how we handle all this speculation and stuff when it comes to this, because this cut itself is already going to be at the center of controversy for years to come, just on the last year of revelations of things or whatever to come anyhow. That's just gonna how it's gonna be. Like, you talk about the Snyder Cut, you're gonna have to talk about the controversies. You got to, like, they're one and the same at this point. So it's just a thing to where it's like, look, Warner Brothers is no longer the parent company of their own thing. So it stands to reason that Warner Media, which is more or less an extension of AT&T, who is now the parent company, they are the ones who greenlit this cut, probably against Warner Brothers execs in general. Now, I still put blame on Warner Brothers because they essentially put themselves in this situation, and how they handled it afterwards was not cool.
Agreed.
But it's still just a situation where it's just like, dude, like, it's an old saying that I've been hearing going around, and it very much feels like that saying is relevant. It's look, you give a mouse a cookie, they'll ask for a glass of milk. And that's the situation that we are in, because now not only do people want their Snyder Cut, which they've gotten, now they want Snyder to just come back for the DC stuff in general. And it's just like, oh boy. First of all, we have to face facts here, because now, along with those things, and I'll just not going to say the full name, but Miss Randolph, if you guys are not familiar, you probably search YouTube, just type in Randolph Snyder, whatever, I don't know, whatever the case may be. She's making the claim that, according to sources, that someone at Warner Media or whatever are looking to bring Snyder back for a part 3, two more parts of this Justice League, and supposedly are going to let Snyder take the helm of Wonder Woman 3.
I'm sorry, that's terrifying.
Now, just forget the fact that they've already inked a deal with Patty Jenkins that she will return for the third movie. Just forget all that. But I've found myself in a position to where just dealing with this, and it's like, again, there's a different faction of fans, and this is not all Snyder fans. I get people like Snyder's movies or whatever the case may be. I get that. That's fine. This isn't directed to you. This is directed to the people that can't handle opposing criticisms. This is for you guys. Okay. Y'all need to chill out. Okay. Like y'all
that's
really
facts.
have to,
Oh,
y'all
that's
have
facts.
to slow down. Slow down. Okay. Listen, y'all got a W. Y'all got your Snyder cut. Y'all can watch it in the comfort of your home. You're watching the comfort of your own home. Just take the W. Take the W. Okay. You're asking for too much. You're asking for too much. And the thing is that, like, this is only something that you guys really want. The thing is, the stuff that they're trying to do with the DC, they've been trying to move on. They've long tried to move on from this. But now we're getting pulled back into the Snyderverse, which really is not pleasing the general audiences. You might have like a few people that loves it or whatever. That's fine. People can be entertained. That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. But the general at large are not feeling these movies. And it doesn't have anything to do with Marvel being successful. That just happens to be a thing. Now, we're talking about general audiences, not the super fans, general audiences. Because again, if that was the case, the original Wonder Woman wouldn't have gotten the accolades it's gotten. Aquaman wouldn't have gotten the accolades that it has gotten. Todd Phillips' Joker wouldn't have gotten the accolades that it has gotten, if that were the case. It's just the fact that, depending on who Warner Brothers hire, and the fact that they put Snyder in that position to construct the entire universe, and even for Man of Steel, which was a mostly decent film, it had its issues, but it was mostly decent. It's like, after that, it's just, dude, it was not gelling with the general public. It just was not.
Okay.
That's simple facts. People were not feeling it.
And
People
I believe
were not feeling it.
I believe I have an explanation for why general audiences don't like it, but there's a lot of Snyder fans. It's quite simple. It's quite simple. Why was the Dark Age of comics so successful?
What's the Dark Age, though?
Because while general audiences don't like the darker and edgier, dreary stuff, there's always that one section of the population that thrives on it. Mm-hmm. And Zack Snyder's movies are basically a living, moving picture version of a Rob Liefeld comic.
Right.
I said it. And I'm not taking that back. I mean, look at some of the leaks. Look at some of the leaks for what he planned for his Justice League. They had Superman being brainwashed and serving Lex Luthor. I'm sorry. He wasn't brainwashed because he chose to serve Darkseid out of his own free will because Batman knocked up Lois Lane. Yes, that expression that you're making right now was my exact expression too when I read that. I was like,
now, granted, and again, this is stuff that we read a week ago. Now, people have come out the woodwork to kind of just say, either they try to say that they were fake or whatever the case may be. It's just like, well, given the receipts that's out there, even from potential views from Zack Snyder himself, it stands to believe that there's some legitimacy to these storyboards, especially since Warner had them taken down.
Yeah.
Like, so, there's not really much, like when you have the original copyright holder taking this stuff down because they don't want like elements of this to spoil their upcoming director's cut film.
That means
that kind of lends some legitimacy to the storyboards.
Yeah,
So
that means there's at least some truth to it. And that idea that Superman would just go crazy evil because Lois Lane hooked up with Bruce Wayne is so anti-Superman that anyone who read that and is a Superman fan, that should give you hives. Like,
listen,
no, no.
this is the thing, and I've seen people
Uh,
come up.
yeah.
I've seen people come up with this reasoning too, because
Jensen,
other
you got
alternate stories where both Bruce and Lois hooked up, or this, that, and the third, or whatever. Okay, that's fine, but this is essentially a universe where uh Clark and Lois were mostly happy together. As a couple, they were committed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Batman not only tried to
Murdered
kill him,
him.
created the tools that caused his death. And she hooks up with the man that killed the man you loved. It then has a baby by him. And not only that, in the same breath, Clark knows about said child, but still raises it. Like, what? It's pretty apparent to me that Zack Snyder hates Superman. Okay.
I'm starting to understand why Zack Snyder was so interested in adapting The Dark Knight Returns.
Jensen, I just want to get your thoughts from, because we haven't heard from you since we started talking about this, man.
Man, I'm just enjoying the dialogue. That's all I was.
Thanks, man.
But he getting a lot of hate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, people like, well, I still got to see it because what he put out last time, people are raising the eyebrow.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting the black suit Superman, which
is
should be
fine.
catching everybody's eye.
Yeah.
And also, real quick, shout out to Cassio Logic, who is part of the cast, and he's looking forward to it. Like, this is no shade on you, brother. Like, not at all. Like, we know your reasoning. That's fine. None of this is directed towards you. You don't even fit in this category what we're talking about, fam. So just throwing that out there.
And he think he coming back after the movie drop. He think he finna take over the whole show talking about it. He thought wrong. I know what he thinking. Like, nah, we ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody turn. But
would it be too mean to say that Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League is a pizza cutter? Hold on, it's all edge and no point.
Hey, I wouldn't disagree with you, because it's like, listen, my biggest criticism with how he approached the DC universe, just on the fact that, again, he's trying to bring some edge to it or whatever. Like, the dudes, it's like, look, I'm not talking about this man personally or whatever, but I mean, it's like, look, some of his artistic vision, a lot of himself is bleeding over into this. So I mean, it's like, look, anytime somebody puts up a consumer product, hey, it's within the realm of critique. That's just the bottom line.
This is agreed.
This is the thing, is the fact that it's like, look, even when you go back and look at when he did The Watchmen, now, I know Alan Moore had his own issue with it, because, and it's very understandable. Now, Alan Moore is a crabby individual. Let's not get that twisted.
Oh no,
but it's just the fact that he kind of has a point, because The Watchmen wasn't supposed to be flashy or anything like that or whatever. And again, I understand when you adapt something to a movie, you got to add a little bit pizzazz to it or whatever, and make it flashy here and there or whatever. And that kind of goes against what his interpretation of what The Watchmen was supposed to be, because The Watchmen was essentially supposed to be the real world take of vigilante superheroes, and just how that essentially in one way or another helps bring down like the infrastructure of society in one way or another or whatever, which is interesting. It's completely interesting. So it's like when you go and see Zack Snyder's take on the Watchmen, for the most part, it follows what the graphic novel does.
It's true for the most part, but the thing is, it's not the content; it's the presentation. Whereas,
and and it's essentially the presentation. And the thing is that like again, the Watchmen, for all intents and purposes, as a story, as a concept, is essentially the anti-Justice League.
Exactly.
That's essentially what it is. And the problem with that is that Zack Snyder is trying to turn the Justice League into the Watchmen, which completely it completely misses the entire point of a Justice League story.
Right. Also, another big problem is Zack Snyder is whereas the original Alan Moore Watchmen is like, hey, the Watchmen are not to be celebrated. They're not good people. You shouldn't want to be like them. Especially Rorschach. Rorschach in the comic is not supposed to be a cool, popular individual. He's supposed to be creepy.
Right. Which I think I got the sense of when they did the series on HBO, which was phenomenal, by the way.
Yes.
So
the problem is apparently Zack Snyder is a lot like a lot of I don't want to say edgelords, so how do I put this diplomatically?
Is there a way to put it diplomatically?
No, so I'm just gonna be blunt. Like a lot of edgelords, Zack Snyder thinks Rorschach is the hero, and he presents Rorschach in this glorious, heroic fashion in the movie. And I'm pretty sure that was part of Alan Moore's problem. He's like, I'm pretty sure Alan Moore's sitting there in the theater like, no, what are you doing? And you can tell that Zack Snyder idolizes Rorschach because he makes Batman act just like Rorschach.
He does. I like that was one that was one of the things that I look back on in hindsight, and it really seemed like, dude, like it's like, look, it's one thing for Bruce to, you know, it's his usual sociopathic tendencies, usual paranoia, or whatever the case may be. But it's like, again, in BVS, it was amped up to the level of Rorschach to where it's like, okay,
like
I don't like this version of Batman. Now everybody wants to like credit the warehouse scene or whatever. It's like, look, just because he did a live action version of an Arkham fight scene, it's like, whoop-de-damn dude. Yes, the scene is awesome, great.
Yes, the scene
but
is very
it's
cool,
just like as a character, as a caricature in this film, he was not likable. Superman wasn't even likable.
How do you make Superman like? Here's the thing about Zack Snyder Superman: they take the friendliest, kindest, most hopeful and optimistic hero in the world, a guy whose nickname is literally the Big Blue Boy Scout, and they turn him to this dour, depressed loner who's just sitting there looking at humans like, I don't understand your human emotions. Why are you like this?
Right.
You grew up on a farm in Kansas. I hate to keep bringing the comics into this, but in the comics, Superman is so absorbed into Earth culture that he mentally thinks of himself as human. Like, when he to Superman, when you refer to him, he will get offended if you call him Kal-El. His name to him is Clark Kent. Kal-El is someone who could have existed, but then Krypton blew up, so you know that guy died with Krypton. I'm Clark Kent. I'm Jonathan and Martha's boy. Like when Jor-El came back and kept trying to pull the father card, Clark was just disgusted that he kept trying to pull it.
Yeah, and that's when it's like, listen, I can understand the criticisms of Superman as a character. I absolutely get it, because I was in that boat too. It was like, okay, like, you know, he's just this absolute do-gooder character, like he's basically the embodiment of perfection. It's like I can't really get
Which
into
isn't-
this character,
Which
is fine. That's absolutely fine because at one point that was all his character was about.
Yes,
That's
the
fine.
Silver Age happened.
So, and again, it's like when you get to a point where, again, you can make a really good, compelling Superman story, even with all that being done, because
they have
that's
several.
still just like you said, they have done this before. And the thing is, like, and that's
Superman the
one of
animated
the
series.
things. It said what series?
I said Superman the animated series exists.
Yeah. Look, well, dude, like Bruce Timm universe is fire anyway. So
Oh yeah. So
the fact that they didn't use that as the blueprint to make these movies still irks me. But that's that's another discussion. But it's still the fact that as a character as iconic as Superman, and you take that and you kind of take the one defining element that makes Superman, like that becomes problematic because it essentially Wonder Woman was a better Superman movie than the actual Superman.
Yes.
With Superman.
Talking about Man of Steel.
That's a lie.
Like, not like I'm just saying, like, not completely, but if you look at some of the elements that they use in the Wonder Woman film and Man of Steel,
I would argue Hippolyta was a better Martha Kent than the actual Martha Kent in the DCEU.
Yeah. Now like I said, we're comparing just the movies themselves. Now,
right.
Now we can disagree. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But what I'm saying is that, like, the thing is, where Superman is supposed to be the symbol of hope, Wonder Woman wound up being the symbol of hope. Like when you watch that film.
Yep.
Like she literally had all the makings of what Superman was supposed to be, which is why Wonder Woman worked.
Yep.
And it's just like you could see shades of it there in Man of Steel, but it just wasn't realized because Snyder kind of has to add his thing into it. Like he has to, like the heavy-handed imagery, the essentially trying to impose the God complex onto Superman, even when he doesn't even see himself that way.
Yeah, even like Superman repeatedly states he does not see himself as a god. He's just a guy trying to help everyone. Like he specifically states several times in the comics, "I'm not a god."
Right. And the thing is that, like, even though like there have been artists like that have done that, it's like, okay, we've done it, we get it, we know artists have done the same thing in the past. That's great, but at the same time, the thing is, a lot of those times when they make those comparisons with the character, like it was something that did the character itself a disservice, because of the simple fact that Clark Kent does not see himself as a god. Now, you could have an alternate interpretation where he probably does see himself as a deity or whatever the case may be, or tries to impose his will on other people, which, again, that's how we got Injustice in a way, even though he still didn't really see himself as a god per se. But it was essentially when he imposed his will on the rest of the world. Which again is another problem with a Zack Snyder stories, that you try to compact all these different stories into one. You can't do that. You can't do that.
These are completely different universes. They don't mesh together. That's why they're in separate worlds.
And that's kind of where we come at with this. Yeah. It's just like, look, it's like, again, for folks that are looking forward to this film, look, more power to you. I don't want more power to you. Like I don't want anybody to be disappointed with anything that they're looking forward to. That's the bottom line. But just don't be surprised when folks are going to have a bone to pick with it when it's all said and done, which we've had, and it's been legitimate. It's like,
we're not just haters. I've flat out defended some of the choices of BVS. BVS and Man of Steel, but even I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But even I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, "Oh no, this is great." Like there are actual legitimate problems of both. Like one of the things I was trying to describe to one of my friends who likes it, like I was like, okay, we're never going to agree on this. So let's just agree that it's a decent Superman movie, but it's a terrible Clark Kent movie.
That's fair. I could buy that.
Yeah. Like I won't like I just like I'd argue it's a halfway. It's not even decent, just halfway decent of a Superman movie. But I just did not want to argue.
The thing is, it takes too much energy to argue, especially when you know that argument is going to go back and forth. So
Yeah.
it's just like, it's because I mean, it's like, look, I think the Man of Steel as a film deserves its place within a Superman mythos because there's still elements of a good Superman story there. There are, and like plus I always give credit where credit is due because like the beginning Krypton scene was awesome in that movie. I really thought it was. It was like it's like, look, I give credit where credit is due. When Zack does something right, he does it right. It's like the rest of it, it's just like, look,
was fire.
Yeah. It's like dude needs a filter. Dude needs a filter. So
he don't let him speak. Let him speak what he want. He don't need no filter. Let him say what he want.
Look, we getting Snyder cut, so that's gonna be Snyder with no filter.
Let the backlash cut up to him if he want to just keep popping off.
Again,
all got him here, but yeah. So
all of you guys who enjoy that kind of stuff, more power to you. You like what you like. I'm just not a fan of the edgelord stuff, especially when it comes to DC, which is built on hope and overcoming despair. But with Zack Snyder's movies, it feels repeatedly like they're mocking the idea of hope. They're mocking the idea of good. Like that is what I got from the BVS scene. Like the Batman and Superman's ideals clash, and Batman, the more pessimistic and violent one, is the one who wins the fight. Which in movie language, while in real life it's arguable that whoever wins the fight is right, in movie language, the person who wins the fight is the one whose ideology was correct. So for Zack Snyder, when he has Batman win and pin Superman down and nearly kill him with the spear, he's saying Batman's take on the world, Batman's ideology that the world is a corrupt and vicious place and the world only makes sense if you force it to, is correct. And you could argue,
but Martha made him human, though.
Yeah. But Martha made him human.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much
we're done.
Pretty much it as far as I go. Justin, do you have anything else to add, man?
Man, y'all got it, man. I've been enjoying y'all. You know, most of what I can say, man, would have been simple stuff that I was already covered. So I'm just up here picking what y'all saying apart.
You know what? I think we're gonna have to start letting you go first.
Yeah. That's our bad. We get on a roll and then we cover all your bases. That's our bad.
Yeah, like next time, and just you going first, Jen. You going first, bro. Because we need everybody's input, and we definitely value yours, bro. So. But
we value yours, which we value you. You're a good friend and a good co-host.
Man, don't give me that.
Absolutely.
Don't give me that. Don't give me that PG-13. No, I'm messing with you, bro. I appreciate it.
I was about to say, shut up and let me uplift you.
Right. But guys, yeah, that about does it for the overall podcast. It was an awesome discussion about everything with the gaming, the mythology, DC, and what we hope for it. You know, it's always a pleasure doing this for just doing this for the culture. You know, and they're glad to be able to wave the torch around for Medusa maybe this time or whatever. Next time, gotta have you in, girl. Like it's we need you back. But anytime you need me to take over, whatever the case may be, I have no problem doing that. I have fun with my boys Toku Terry and Jensen. and look forward to doing this again. So just any really quick final thoughts before we wrap it up, guys?
I'm
No,
not
good.
apologizing. I'm not apologizing. Everything I said is my opinion. But yes, will die on the Zack Snyder is an edgelord hill.
All right, Jensen.
The Snyder cut is actually gonna be good. People just hating the hate. I think it's gonna be good because we all know it's the thing to hate great things or popular things. Well, not great, but popular. I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be good. Not great, but good.
See, I think
Better
there's a
than the first
reason
one.
why your camera is off right now, because
The
You can see my face.
amount of blasphemy.
but no, man, I'm just playing fun with you. But yeah, guys, that does it for our podcast, and we appreciate you for spending your precious time with us, listening to us go on and on and on about our fandoms, and we will see you on our next one, and more than likely we might get into some more TV show comic book discussion. I mean, we still got way more stuff coming because as of this recording, I think they're doing the making of WandaVision tomorrow, and then the following week we got Falcon and Winter Soldier coming, as well as a Snyder cut, and as well as some other things. We do this. The next few months is going to be nuts. But
Yeah.
with all that being said, I hope everyone has a great day or night whenever you're listening to this. This is your boy, The Fallen Marvel, and y'all keep following my advice to go nerd and nerd responsibly. I'm taking it back from Medusa Maybe because I loaned it to her the last couple times. So for Toku Terry and Jensen, we bid you guys adieu. Y'all have a good one. Planet EJOBN. We in here. Y'all take care. Deuces.